Here we go. What are we talking about in this beautiful part of the program?
You know what? I'm going to throw this at you, okay? Because we've been talking Suns a lot, and, the conversation has kind of gotten, honestly, a little confusing after that press conference on Wednesday. And now we're all just kind of waiting so is something else going to happen? Or it's kind of like, Wolf, when you know those movies, you go to the theater and then you watch the movie and then something happens after the credits. And so then there's okay, I got to stay all the way through the credits now because there's a preview for the next. That's kind of where we are right now with the Suns. Is the season over? The season's over. Are you firing a coach? Are you making a move? Was that press conference it? How long do we kind of stand here and wait?
Yeah, honestly, right now, the future of the Big Three, I think that's what we're all thinking about right now. And does the future of the Big Three actually include Frank Vogel as their coach? What is the future of Frank Vogel? What is the future of the Big Three? What is it going forward right now?
Well, here's Tim Legler on Get Up yesterday. Just listen to what he says.
Matt Ishbia saying that is like the survivors of the Titanic saying it's the best cruise they've ever been on. I mean, what is he talking about right now? My goodness. Listen, I will say this. You can't call this yet an abject failure because it's about getting it done at some point with these three guys together, okay? That's the bottom line. They certainly didn't get it done this year, and by all accounts, what they put together in that offensive talent, they underachieved. There's no doubt about it. The roster needs to improve in certain areas. They clearly need a point guard. They need longer wings. They need to add around the fringes around these three players, but there's still more time if they stay together. If they just get one done, at some point, get to a final, win a championship, maybe even just get to a final for a franchise that's never won a title would be enough to call this a success. So there still is more time, and maybe that's where Matt Ishbia is coming from.
Okay, there's a lot there. I'll pinpoint the part where you said the Big Three isn't a failure yet. You could convince me of that. You could say they're not a failure yet. I mean,
I'm with you.
It's only year one of that, but this season was a failure. Because and Wolf,
it's a great way of putting it, Luke. It really is.
You're wired pretty similarly to me on this. I want to look for something to be optimistic about. Just my natural instinct, especially as we're talking about this every day, is to say, yeah, but you know what? They did show this or they did show that. And what is there? They beat Denver twice on the road in the regular season. That's about it. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. If you had beaten Minnesota and pushed the Nuggets to 6 or 7 in the second round, I could at least look and say, okay, now build on it next year.
Yeah.
But you didn't even win one playoff game.
Right. Honestly, I know coming into this season we all had hopes and aspirations of championship, right? Most of us did.
And
it wasn't ridiculous. It wasn't ridiculous talk. It wasn't. They had a bona fide shot. I think we all believe that. NBA analysts believe that as well. They had a bona fide shot.
If you go
doing
back
it and making some noise
to September, the people who didn't think the Suns could win the title, it was because Denver's so good, or Boston, or maybe even Milwaukee. Milwaukee's out now too, but it wasn't. Well, no, this team won't work. They're going to get swept in the first round. It was never that.
Never.
Not before the season.
Exactly right. So once again, the expectation was there. It did not work. It did not, and it was disappointing. I'm not going to call it a failure. It was disappointing to me. The outcome, of course, was this season. I love the way you put it. Was this season a failure? Yes. Is the Big Three a failure yet? No, to me. It's too early.
Yeah. Now, the Big Three, it's not like when Miami got LeBron and he was just entering the prime of his career, right? So I think we all know this Big Three collectively together, their window's not 5 or 6 years. They basically probably only have next year, maybe the year after, depending on how next year goes. So it might be deemed a failure faster than another Big Three might. It's just the window might be shorter. But right now, I'm with you. It's 1 year. It usually takes 2.
Yeah, no. Once again, that's where I would put the limit on it right there. Yeah. If they don't win a championship, it wasn't successful. There's no other way to parse it.
Exactly.
You just can't do it, period.
You gave up so much to put this core together, and you were winning more playoff games before you had this core.
Yes. The question, what's amazing to me right now are the rumors are out there, right? Basinonians, you've heard them right now. The rumors are out there, the whispers again, and they're about Kevin Durant, aren't they? Why is this? It's so persistent. It's truly amazing. Of the big three right now, he's regarded as the most tradable piece, not just because he's Kevin Durant, of course, but for other factors as well. His contract situation, Bradley Beal has a no-trade clause.
Yeah.
As we know, Devin Booker, you're not moving. You're just not doing it.
And, honestly, after hearing that press conference on Wednesday, I don't think they're moving any of the big three. And I'm not saying that's what you have to do. I mean, realistically, your best chance to win next year is probably to keep the big three together in a vacuum. That sentence makes a lot of sense. The problem is you're just so limited in doing anything else. And we're going to talk to Bobby Marks in about 20 minutes. He's gonna really go into what they can and can't do, what sort of options they have. That draft pick could end up being very pivotal in all this, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But no, I mean, you're right. If they were going to make a move, a significant move, you're not moving Booker and you can't move Beal.
Yeah.
So
I'm once again, though, the cut you just played right there, I feel like it is too soon to call the big three a failure. I think that is the case, but I think this season was a failure.
This season was absolutely a failure. And I think that's where a lot of people had a hard time on Wednesday. I get Matt Ishbia. He's a businessman. He owns this team. It's his first full season owning this team. He's not going to come out there and just convey misery, right? He's not going to go, this was a waste. I guess, you know what, we're not going to spend anymore. Welcome back to 2015. He's not going to say that, but he was almost like too optimistic, I think, for a good chunk of the fan base that was just like, no, that sucked. Like, it doesn't mean we can't, look forward to next year, but what just happened was miserable. Here's Steven Jackson from All the Smoke.
I just don't think it'll ever work when you got 3 stars and none of them are defenders. As you see, they just got swept by a team that got 3 stars. 2 of them are scorers, but all 3 of them are defenders. All 3 of them are defenders. So it showed in that series. You can't have 3 scorers, 3 great players. They are great players, and they are guys too. But none of them are defensive players. None of them put that effort in on defense. None of them are defensive stoppers. So you'll never win like that, Matt. Especially against a team like that where you're with other teams' best players might be one of their best defenders. So they need to figure that out. And going forward, if they don't get an athletic player in the paint or get a solid point guard, they're gonna go through the same thing next year.
Well, that was ominous.
There it is right there. Yeah, that was ominous indeed. The point guard comes back up, of course. And then, you know what? I honestly feel like, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they're going to find a point guard somewhere, somehow, some way. They have to do that. That is going to be James Jones. That is going to be his goal. This is going to be his quest this offseason. He's got to find a point guard.
It's the, quote, easiest thing to fix, although it's not easy, because you're looking for a very specific point guard. You're looking for what? You're looking for a point guard that has experience, that is not looking to get their shot, because you know how much. I mean, Matt Ishbia and James Jones just reiterated it again. They don't want the ball out of the big three's hands. So if I'm interviewing point guards, you better be experienced, and you better know you're getting the ball up the court and you're distributing to one of those big three. You might be taking 2 or 3 shots a game on Sundays.
They've got to become so much more tough as well. Tougher.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.